right, it's the 14th of June, 2014. Now, alignment-wise, we're going to get a couple of sticks on the ground, and I highly recommend this because alignment is one of those things that changes. And the pros either have their caddies checking them out, and then you know how important alignment is. What I like to do is to put a club. If this is the that white flag, I think that's, or the 150 rather, 150, yeah, that's it. So if we're going to the 150, I like to lay a club on the ground or a stick or whatever you got handy and point it right at it. And then you get another one that's parallel to the left of it, and then that officially makes you aim just a little left of target. And I think that's a good thing, because then anything in this area allows you to swing slightly from the inside. So your alignment's good here. But I noticed you started off and the alignment was over here another 10, 15 yards, and then you picked your spot, and you can't always find that spot. So laying these clubs down and making sure your body is parallel, it's just one of those things that kind of affirms the proper alignment over time. You don't have to worry about the spot as much. Okay, so that's that, and then when we look at the swing itself is looking pretty darn good. I want to see, I remember talking about this before, the need for that right arm to stay, the elbow to stay down a little bit. Let's see if we can pick somebody else. This is just such a clean video and good form here. We can pick anybody you want to see. I can confirm through there, because I got Spieth and all those guys, but honestly their swing isn't as good as Ernie's was. So watch as he goes back, and you'll notice he's basically, when he's parallel to the ground, he's parallel to the target line, and then that right arm is rotating as the left arm rotates, which lets the club kind of rotate around. So watch as you go back. We should follow that bottom line here to begin with, that shaft plane line in the very beginning. You see how your hands pick up just a tiny little bit, and we get a little separation of the left arm from the chest. So that's an important pressure point. It's almost like you had a 5-inch plastic bug stuck under your left arm, and you want to squash the bug when you go back. When you watch good players, that's something that you'll generally see. Like all the good players, there are always some exception, but you don't see any space under that left arm. So in terms of consistency is really, another word for that could be timing. And timing is nothing more than the relationship of the arm swing to the body turn. So if we're talking about a consistency situation, that left arm being tied in is one of your major points of consistency. So that left arm should stay tied in. And it's not like you're off plane here just a tiny little bit. I mean, you're just about perfect. You can see the club face is a little bit shut, and that's just that little bit of separation causes that club to switch around a little bit. Not even worried about that. And this is not a big deal, but watch as you keep going. Now you see it's above the forearm. That shaft is just kind of on the top of the forearm. Again, not far off, as opposed to being right in the middle of the forearm. So tons of guys in the Hall of Fame are worse than this on the backswing, as you know. But as my dad used to say, you're not one of them, so you got to be better than they are. So this is the ideal, is you just keep that left arm tucked in, the right arm pointing more to the ground, and then that'll allow that club to plane off a little bit better, because it picks up a little bit. Now if we were to get over here and chiropractic your right arm into a down position, and the left arm's tucked in enough at that point, but if we tuck that right arm to the ground, that would just simply bring this around. Again, not very much different. It'd be about an inch lower. It'd be about right there. And then you would match up perfectly with where Ernie's position is here at that point. So not far off, but that's a good checkpoint for you visually. Now what do we feel to get that? I don't know. That's going to be, once you get in that position, you decide, is it the right arm is the key? Is it the left arm rotating? Doesn't matter if you're just pointing the club that way. Either way, it doesn't matter. Then if we're a little bit above the plane here, it goes a little bit across the line here. And the further you go, the more it creates some extra angles. There have been some great players that were here. I've shot scratch golf for years with the club over here someplace, and then I'd reroute it. But if I laid off for a week of practice, I was in trouble. So it's just easier to maintain if you keep that club pointing at the target line when it's not parallel to the target line. So he keeps running, going until it's parallel. That's a little bit of an overswing because his right arm folds. I like this length of swing better. But that club should be right there pointed down the target line. So again, it's largely in the right arm, keeping that right arm a little bit more in front of you. Now on the downswing, to come down from there, the easiest thing to do is for you to straighten that shaft out. So we end up coming in just a little bit above the forearm. Watch where he is now as he starts coming down. That's the perfect entry point. If you're above that point, it's a little bit like taking a regular pool shot and deciding to do that massage shot down, hitting down on it a little bit. You're hitting down on it a little bit and it might squirt. If your timing is good, your rhythm is good, perfect. But if you squirt it a little bit to the right or squirt it a little bit to the left, it's hard to tell which way it's going to go. So the goal is to get this plane a little simpler on the backswing. It isn't far off, a little simpler, so it can be a little simpler on the downswing. Now when we get down to here, you can see at that point, you can see your hands are well away from being on that shaft plane. They get pulled a little bit away, but you can see how he's pretty close to that point there. It's just such a good swing. I mean, he's not nearly the player that Spieth is, but just a much better swing than most of these guys. I haven't found a new guy that's got the model swing yet that's close to him. He had no short game, and he did all that he did. Short game was terrible. So anyway, that's about all there is to see from this side. So basically you're doing a lot better. And if you have a little bit of a flying right arm on the backswing, you have a little flying left arm on the through swing. Almost have to, coming in from a steep angle. Coming in from a shallow angle, that can stay tucked in. So elbows down is an old-timey tip that works wonders. Get rid of all that junk. And then you observe that it looked like you're a little bit rushed. And yeah, the rhythm isn't bad, but I think when you get everything working on plane more, it makes it easier to be smooth. That's why looking at Ernie's swing is such a thing of beauty, because he's so perfectly on plane. Now the hands are forward just a little bit. I'd rather have them too far forward and too far back, so that's not a big deal. The thing about that, when your hands are too far forward, is the drawback to having the hands too far forward is you take it too much inside. Well, you're not doing that, so that's why it's not that big of a deal. That club does not go too far in. It just goes just about perfect, other than being up a little bit. So no big deal. Just when you watch most people from the front, you'd notice their left arm kind of hung over their left thigh a little bit more. Again, I'll use him. See that? Just a little bit more relaxed over the left thigh. You're just a tiny bit forward. Not even that big a deal. But I think when you get too far forward, sometimes your shoulders come around there, and you can see how his shoulders look maybe a little more square than yours are. So just a little bit. Have that back a little bit more. Now this is one of the best pivots in golf on the backswing. And he just simply turns and the club stays in front of him. So at the quarter position, you want to see roughly a 45-degree turn of the shoulders. You get all mathematical on you here, but just as a visual. Now when you get back here, you can see we really haven't got a lot of turn going on. So yours is generated a little bit more with the arms. And again, that's going to be a consistency problem, because your hands have so much design potential that they can pretty much take you anywhere. But the body doesn't have a whole lot of options if you're taking it back with the body. So I always like to see a backswing that's controlled by the body. And that's really what he does so well. So as he goes on back to that half position, he's now turned about maybe 60 degrees with his torso. And of course, the majority of the weight shift happens because of the turn, and you can see all he's done is rotated around his spine, and now he's up against the right side of the box. If you haven't really turned your body, there's no reason for your weight to shift. And there'd be a lot of club pros that say, man, you gotta shift onto your right side. Well, not if you turn. The turn takes care of the shift. Like my dad said, I'd rather see you do one thing that does 10 things than 10 things that do one. So the turn back is what we're really gonna do. Show you an easy drill for that. So I think there's a couple of things that you can do with all that massive amount of spare time you've got these days with job and a 3.5-year-old. But there's a lot of things you can do. But it's looking good. We need to focus on the elbows staying to the ground. But if we can do a little bit of a pivot drill, I think that's going to make a big difference. And the pivot, I think, is going to be the difference in whether your club's on plane or not. Because concept is part of it, and then the rest of it is just really doing it. Letting the body take you back. That made all the difference with my game. When Bender taught me how to let the body control the backswing, that was like night and day how much simpler it got. So he's just turned back. Now he's going to turn back through, and everything shifts back to the left as a result of the turn. If you didn't get all the way back there, it's hard to have room enough to kind of turn into that left side. And as you get through the ball, you get a little jammed up, so the left arm doesn't quite have room to go. And so sometimes if that extends, that might be a fat shot. And if it doesn't extend enough, it might be a thin shot. So So you got inconsistency due to the elbow function, but they're secondary to what the plane is doing. So the plane is the big thing. So we're going to get good alignment. We're going to get a way to start back, so we're letting our body control the backswing. I'll show you an old drill here. I did for somebody earlier, but I still got it on here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this little drill is just a sternum drill, and basically I'm just going to take everything back in one piece this way. So watch as I turn back. And I'm exaggerating because the person was really staying over here, so I was exaggerating, getting over to the right side. A little bit more lateral with the head than usual. But you see, when you keep that tucked in like that, you get massive width, and the body's really turned a lot more than it normally would at that point. And then as the wrist set and to finish the turn, everything gets back here, and then you take that same position and bring it right back down. Let it just drop into the slot. In other words, you can swing all the way back and all the way through after that club's been connected for the first 3 or 4 feet there to that quarter position. And let everything just turn through. You take out a rib, you know your elbows didn't work properly. So we'll do that one, and then we'll do the 2 shaft drill. I'll go ahead and show you the 2 shaft drill here. I think we've done this before. With the 2 shafts on an angle. So that they're lined up basically on the same angle as your shaft is lined up. And you can do this at the house, and we'll be on top of it on the backswing. So as you go back, instead of lifting up, you want to put a little pressure on those shafts going back, and that way it keeps that club right on plane. Again, you were just an inch out, so it's hard to pick on that spot. And then that right arm should be a little straighter at that point, but it does point down to the ground, which keeps that club right on plane. And then the downswing, you just let it drop in underneath the shafts. Remember this one? Okay, good. That's a good one for the backyard for sure.
I actually have a pole.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, great. And then you just come back to impact that way. And you already got that, so you know what the front view looks. Do that real quickly. I would recommend doing it this way at that point, so you can feel left arm connected, and then right elbow begins to fold and point down. You want to talk about the guy that has the best job in the universe? This is him. He sells bingo supplies, and he's fabulously wealthy. How ridiculous is that? I mean, that's ridiculous.